Good evening. I'm Krishnan Chandramohan, an assistant professor at Rajagiri Business School. A few years ago, I had traveled to Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh City is a slightly different kind of a city. It's a mixture of old socialist architecture and modern capitalist trappings. And the households there are even more unique. Today, Vietnam is very much in a capitalist mode, and in the market, the currency is the English language. But 30 years ago, Vietnam was a satellite of the USSR regime, and at that point, Russian was the language of commerce. Even earlier, when Vietnam was a colony of France, French was the language of commerce. So you can find households wherein there are three different generations, overlapping generations, with three very different political economic convictions which try to communicate in three vastly different languages. Now, had these generational gaps stayed within the walls of a household, it would have been fine. But then, intergenerational conflict or tensions are at the core of two of the most pressing problems that we face today. One being sustainable development, and the other being an aging population. Sustainable development is not a new problem. From ages or right from the beginning, humans have exploited Mother Nature. We stepped foot in the Americas, we killed the most large mammals there. We set foot in Australia, we did the same. It's just that over the last 2 centuries, this exploitation of nature and pristine ecosystems has happened at a much larger scale. Even when it comes to an aging population, this for us is new. Until recently, we faced a problem wherein most people were dying early. Now we are facing a problem where we have too few youngsters to support a growing old population. The second concern that we face today is a rapidly aging population. The number of youngsters to support an older population is reducing by every passing decade. This is a new problem for humanity. But at the core, as I mentioned earlier, is a conflict between generations. We have tried to solve these problems earlier. Whenever we have tried institutional solutions, technical solutions. Towards the end of the 19th century, started by Bismarck, we started the social security system, wherein the older and the weaker part of the population was supported by the more agile and stronger part of the population. It has worked well for us over the years, that is until recently. As I mentioned earlier, we have a much larger pool of older population today, and the fiscal systems of most developed countries are creaking under the burden of social security payments. When it comes to sustainable development, we have been less successful in getting technical solutions, and this is not surprising. When you have an intergenerational conflict and you want to find technical solutions, it is not easy. First, you have to map the requirements of every generation. Then you have to see that these mappings are not in conflict. Because if they are in conflict, there are certain generations which are disenfranchised. School-going children do not have votes. Generations yet to be born are never heard. So finding a technical solution which actually takes care of intergenerational problems is extremely difficult. But then there's another part of human life where we have done this. When human beings are born, they are born extremely weak. We take around 9 months to attain the capability most other mammals attain at birth. It takes us another 9 months to get the comparable bone structure which a mammal has at birth. During this period, it is the older generation that looks after the child. The child doesn't survive without the help of the older generation. But as the child grows up, as every child grows up, soon the altruism of the older generations are forgotten. And there's good reason for that. We have a dogmatic belief in economic incentives. We believe that economic incentives work the best. And one good example where this argument can be negated is the profession of teaching. We know that students benefit, research supports that students benefit the most from teachers in an educational setup. but teachers are also not the best paid professionals. Despite that, the altruism of the teacher is what leads to the development of the children in school. The second reason why we often neglect altruism is that it's only prominent in its absence. Parents shower love for us. We do not often realize how worthwhile it is or how important it is. Parents shower love on us. We don't understand how important it is. It is only when you have single parent households you understand the value. Kids coming from broken households are less likely to do as well as similar kids coming from intact families. So these two reasons put together, our misguided economic principles and altruism only found in its absence, has sort of led us to lose track of the importance of altruism. Now, the reason altruism is important is that it can help, as I mentioned earlier, solve knotty public policy problems. To conclude, two of the most pressing problems that we face today, sustainability and an aging population, need not necessarily have technical solutions. But we can move forward if we actually base our solutions on altruism. Thank you.